One of the most overlooked parts of finding the right person is actually the part that has nothing to do with them. It starts with you. And I know that sounds cliche, love yourself first. You can't pour from an empty cup. We've all heard those phrases a million times. But the truth behind them is real. You can't figure out if someone is right for you if you don't know who you are, what you value, and what kind of life you're really trying to build. It's like trying to put together a puzzle when you don't even know what picture you're aiming for. So many of us go into dating with this idea of what we think we want. Maybe it's based on looks, success, charm, a great sense of humor. And sure, those things are nice. But when you really look back at your own life and the relationships that didn't work out, you start to realize something important. The problem wasn't just about the other person. Sometimes we weren't even choosing from a place of clarity. We were choosing from a place of loneliness or pressure or boredom or just plain not knowing what truly mattered to us. Getting to know yourself isn't just about taking bubble baths or writing in a journal, though hey, if that helps, do it. It's about getting honest with yourself about your emotional needs. Do you need someone who brings calm into your life or someone who brings energy and spontaneity? Do you value deep conversation, or is shared activity and quality time what fills your cup? These aren't surface level preferences. They're about how you're wired emotionally, what kind of connection really feeds you, and what kind of presence brings out the best in you. Because the right person isn't just someone who makes your heart race. There's someone who fits into the reality of your world. And you can't recognize that fit if you haven't built the framework first. Think about it like this. Imagine you're building a home. You're laying the foundation, designing the rooms, figuring out how you want it to feel inside. You wouldn't just let anyone come in and start knocking down walls or painting it whatever color they feel like, right? But in dating, we often do exactly that. We let people in without having a clear idea of what we've built or what we're even trying to create. And when it doesn't work out, we wonder why the whole thing collapsed. Knowing yourself means recognizing your patterns too. It's not always easy. Sometimes it means confronting the fact that you're drawn to people who feel familiar. But familiar doesn't always mean good. Familiar can mean unhealed. It can mean you're gravitating toward people who replicate an old wound rather than help you grow. That's why self-awareness is such a superpower. When you have it, you stop confusing excitement with connection. You stop mistaking attention for affection. You start noticing the little things. How someone listens to you, how they respond when you set a boundary, how they treat you when you're not at your best. And most importantly, you start choosing with intention. And here's the beautiful part. When you truly know yourself, you actually raise the bar, not just for others, but for yourself. You stop chasing relationships that drain you. You stop accepting crumbs when you know you deserve a full meal. You start moving from a place of fullness instead of a place of fear. The right person will meet you there, not because they're perfect, not because the stars magically aligned, but because you were clear enough about who you are to recognize when someone truly fits into your life. You didn't settle. You didn't fake it. You didn't morph into someone else just to be chosen. You chose you first. And that changes everything. Attraction is powerful. It's magnetic. It's exciting. And it's what pulls you in at the beginning. It's that rush you get when someone texts you back, the butterflies when they walk into the room, the feeling that you could talk to them for hours without even noticing the time. And don't get me wrong, that spark matters. Chemistry is real, but it's not the whole picture. It's just the starting point. If we're not careful, we can confuse attraction for something deeper than it actually is. And that's where a lot of us get stuck. We meet someone and feel an instant connection, and suddenly we start projecting everything we want them to be onto them. We fill in the blanks. We assume because we feel drawn to them, it must mean they're the one. But what we don't always pause to ask is this: is there alignment? Not just chemistry, not just charm, not just we like the same music or we both love to travel. I'm talking about alignment in values, in goals, in how you both show up in a relationship when it's no longer just fun and easy. Attraction might get things going, but alignment is what keeps things going. Let me give you an example. Say you're someone who values consistency, structure, building something long term, but the person you're seeing lives in the moment, avoids commitment, and never wants to plan more than 2 days ahead. Now, in the beginning, that free-spirited energy might feel fun. It might even feel like exactly what you needed to loosen up a bit. But over time, that misalignment starts to create friction. You're looking for direction, they're looking for escape. And no matter how strong the chemistry is, it won't fix that core mismatch. That's why paying attention to alignment isn't about being picky. It's about being intentional. It's about asking the right questions early and not ignoring the answers just because you like the way someone makes you feel. Do your priorities line up? Do you want the same things in the next 3-5 years? Do you both value growth, loyalty, communication? Or are you already seeing signs that you're headed down two different roads, hoping that somehow, magically, you'll both land in the same place? One of the most important lessons I've learned, and I think more people need to hear this, is that not everyone who feels right is right. Sometimes a connection teaches you something. Sometimes it reminds you that you're still capable of feeling deeply. And that's okay. Not every connection is meant to last, and not every spark is meant to turn into a fire. But when you're serious about finding the right person for you, you have to go deeper than the initial pull. You have to slow down enough to ask yourself, does this person fit into the life I'm building, or do I just like how I feel around them right now? That distinction can save you a lot of time and heartache. Because here's the thing, someone can check every box on paper, they can make your heart race and your world spin, but if you don't align in the ways that matter, you'll constantly feel like you're swimming upstream. You'll be trying to compromise on things that shouldn't be compromises. You'll start shrinking yourself to make the relationship work, and the more you bend, the more you drift from who you really are. That's the price of choosing attraction without alignment. And it's not worth it. Now, when you do find someone who you're attracted to and aligned with, that's where the magic happens. That's when you're not just building off chemistry, but off shared vision, off mutual respect, off a foundation that's actually stable. You don't have to constantly question their intentions or guess where things are going, because you've talked about it. You've seen how they live, how they love, how they respond to life, not just how they show up when they're trying to impress you. And it's in those moments when alignment meets attraction that you realize this is what it's supposed to feel like. Not just butterflies, not just tension, but peace. Clarity, forward motion. You stop waiting for the other shoe to drop because you're not building a relationship on fantasy. You're building it on truth. That's what you're really looking for. Not someone who just gives you a high, but someone who fits into your real life. Someone whose presence doesn't make you question your worth or your path, but affirms it. That's when you know you're onto something real. We've all been there, right? Those early days of a relationship when everything feels like magic. They text back fast. They remember the small details. They show up when they say they will. It's easy to get swept up in that. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with enjoying the honeymoon phase, because let's be real, it's fun. But here's the thing, when it comes to truly finding the right person for you, you have to remember that consistency is the real test. It's easy to be great in the beginning, but can they keep showing up for you even when the spark fades a little, when life gets harder, and when you're not quite on your best behavior? The right person for you isn't just the one who's perfect on the first few dates. They're the one who continues to be present as things evolve. They're the one who's still there when life starts throwing curveballs, when things aren't as easy, when you're not dressed up and everything is a little less glamorous. That's when you really start to see who someone is and whether they can keep up with you through the ups and downs. Think about it. A lot of us have had experiences where someone seemed amazing at first, but over time their actions didn't line up with their words. Maybe they were busy. Maybe they just didn't prioritize you the same way anymore. It's not that they were bad people. They just weren't consistent. They showed up when it was convenient for them, but when things got real, when you needed something more, they weren't there. And that's the thing. Who someone is when things are tough is often more important than who they are when everything is easy. So what does consistency look like? Well, it's not about grand gestures or big promises. It's the little things done day in and day out. It's the way they make you feel seen, heard, and valued, even when there's no immediate reward for it. It's the effort they put in, even when it's not convenient. Maybe it's how they check in with you when you've had a rough day, or how they make sure your needs are met, even when they've had a busy week. It's someone who can adapt, who can be there for you no matter what, who isn't just in it for the good times, but is ready to roll up their sleeves and put in the work when things get hard. I think we've all seen or been part of relationships where someone started out incredibly enthusiastic, but as soon as the novelty wore off, so did the effort. And I know it's easy to make excuses. Oh, they're just busy, or maybe they don't know how much I need them right now. But let's be real. We all know deep down when someone is consistently showing up for us and when they're just going through the motions. We can feel it. And the truth is, if someone truly cares about you, if they really want to be a part of your life, they'll find a way to show up, no matter how hectic things get. When someone is consistent, it doesn't mean they're perfect. They're going to make mistakes. There will be misunderstandings, awkward moments, miscommunications. But here's the key. The right person wants to fix things. They don't disappear when problems arise. They don't make you chase them for a response or wonder what's going on. Instead, they show up with humility, they listen, and they work through things with you. It's not about avoiding conflict. It's about handling it with respect and care. Because if someone can't be counted on in the tough moments, then what happens when life throws bigger challenges your way? In any relationship, consistency builds trust. And trust is the foundation of everything. When you can trust that someone will be there for you, that's when you start to feel secure, safe, and confident in what you're building together. You stop wondering if they'll cancel plans last minute or if they're going to vanish when things get serious. Instead, you know that they're invested, not just in the good times, but in your life as a whole. And that's when you realize you're not just playing around, you're building something real. But consistency also goes both ways. It's not just about waiting for someone else to prove themselves to you, it's about showing up for them too. Relationships are about mutual effort. It's not about one person always carrying the load, but both people consistently putting in the time, energy, and care it takes to nurture a strong connection. That's why it's so important to look beyond the early stages of infatuation. It's easy to be drawn in by the exciting moments, the late night texts, the quick trips, the fun dates. But the true test of whether someone is the right person for you comes later. It's when life gets busy or difficult or mundane and you're still there for each other. It's when the person you're with proves that their feelings for you are more than just a fleeting rush, but a deep, consistent commitment to being a part of your life. When you realize that the right person isn't just about who makes your heart race at first, but about who makes you feel secure, seen, and supported over time, that's when you start recognizing what it means to build a lasting, healthy relationship. It's about the little things, the check-ins, the respect, the care for one another. It's about consistency, and that's what makes all the difference. Now, let's talk about conflict. And I know, it's one of those things we all dread. None of us go into a relationship thinking, I can't wait for a good fight. But the reality is, conflict is inevitable. No matter how much you love someone, no matter how much chemistry you have, there will be times when you don't agree, when things get tense, or when emotions run high. What really matters, though, is how you handle that conflict. The right person for you isn't someone who's going to avoid conflict or sweep things under the rug, hoping it just magically works itself out. The right person is someone who knows that disagreement doesn't mean disaster. They know that navigating conflict, when done respectfully and thoughtfully, can actually strengthen your relationship. In fact, the way two people handle their differences can tell you more about their compatibility than just about anything else. Let's be clear about this. Healthy conflict doesn't mean you won't have moments where you're upset or frustrated with each other. It means that you both are willing to step up, be vulnerable, and have the hard conversations. It means you're both invested enough to work through the discomfort instead of letting it fester or grow into something bigger. Have you ever been in a relationship where when things went wrong, the other person just shut down, or worse, started blaming you for everything? It's exhausting, isn't it? Suddenly, you're not even sure what you're fighting about anymore because it's just become this back and forth of who's right and who's wrong, and all the original points you were trying to make are lost in the noise. That's not healthy conflict. That's avoidance, or worse, deflection. The right person doesn't just want to win the argument, they want to find a resolution. They don't want to be right for the sake of being right. They want to understand where you're coming from. Even if they don't always agree with you, they ask questions, they listen, and they show up with an open heart and mind. And if they're wrong, they can admit it. They take responsibility for their part and they don't try to dodge accountability. Now, that's not to say conflict will always be neat or tidy. We're human after all. Emotions can run high, tempers can flare, and sometimes things get said in the heat of the moment that we don't mean. But the key here is how you both come back from it. Do you apologize when you've said something you didn't mean? Do you take the time to listen and actually try to understand each other's perspective rather than just defending your own? Can you work together to come up with a solution that works for both of you? If someone shuts down, refuses to apologize, or doesn't care to work through the issue at hand, That's a red flag. A relationship built on silence or avoidance is not a healthy one. It's not sustainable. In fact, it breeds resentment. You might let things slide in the beginning, thinking it'll pass, but over time, that silence becomes louder, and the longer those unaddressed issues sit there, the more difficult it becomes to bridge the gap. But the right person is willing to put in the work. They'll engage with you in a respectful way, even when emotions are running high. They'll listen to what you're really saying, not just what you're arguing about. They'll give you space when you need it, but they'll also come back to the table when things have cooled down, ready to have that hard conversation. And in those moments, you know they're not just trying to win. They're trying to understand. They're trying to meet you where you are. It's also important to note that conflict resolution isn't just about resolving the immediate issue. It's about how you both grow from it. Can you communicate better the next time around? Can you respect each other's differences while still finding common ground? The right person for you is someone who's not just invested in making things work right now, but in building long-term, sustainable communication that strengthens your bond. And here's the key part. They don't run from conflict. They embrace it, not as a threat to the relationship, but as an opportunity to deepen your understanding of each other. Because at the end of the day, no relationship is perfect. There will always be bumps along the road, but how you navigate those bumps together says everything about your future together. When you find someone who's willing to engage with you in difficult conversations, who's not afraid of conflict, but sees it as a way to get closer, to grow and to learn, you know you've found someone who's truly invested in you and your connection. It's not about avoiding challenges. It's about facing them together with respect, vulnerability, and a shared desire to make things work. And that's what makes all the difference. Emotional maturity is one of those things that's easy to overlook at first. We all get excited about the fun side of relationships, the passion, the adventure, the late night talks, the shared dreams. But as time goes on, what truly holds a relationship together isn't just about how much you're attracted to each other or how much fun you have. It's about emotional maturity. And honestly, it's something that's often not fully appreciated until the tough times come around. Emotional maturity isn't just about being able to manage your emotions. It's about how you understand, express, and navigate them. It's about being able to look at your own feelings, recognize what's going on inside you, and deal with it in a way that's healthy, constructive, and respectful, not only to yourself, but to your partner as well. It's easy to confuse emotional maturity with simply being calm or keeping things together when times are tough. But true emotional maturity goes deeper than just holding your cool. It's about being able to own up to your mistakes, admit when you're wrong, and be vulnerable without fear of judgment. It's about not letting your ego run the show or avoiding uncomfortable emotions. Instead, you meet them head on and have the courage to deal with them in a way that fosters growth, not just in yourself, but in the relationship. When someone is emotionally mature, they take responsibility for their own feelings. They don't blame others for their emotions or expect their partner to somehow fix them. They understand that their happiness, their self-worth, and their emotional state are their own responsibility. They're not relying on someone else to make them feel whole, and that's crucial in any healthy relationship. You don't want to find yourself in a situation where you're constantly trying to prop up your partner's emotional well-being at the cost of your own. You want to be with someone who is whole within themselves, someone who is capable of taking care of their own emotions, but also knows how to show up for you when you need them. But here's the thing, emotional maturity also means being able to handle your partner's emotions without getting defensive or shutting down. When things get heated, when there's tension in the air, can you listen to each other with patience and compassion? Even if you don't agree, can you hold space for your partner's feelings, even if they're different from your own, without trying to fix them or dismiss them? The right person for you isn't just someone who knows how to regulate their own emotions. They're someone who can sit with you in your feelings and understand where you're coming from. And let's not forget about vulnerability. Emotional maturity doesn't just mean being able to handle your emotions. It means being able to express them honestly and openly. It's about allowing yourself to be seen for who you really are, imperfections, flaws and all, and trusting that your partner will hold that space for you. Vulnerability is where connection happens. It's where you get to let down your guard and show the real, raw parts of yourself that you might keep hidden from the rest of the world. And it's where you find out if your relationship is built on something real or just on surface level attraction. But emotional maturity also means being able to handle the tough moments with grace. It means knowing how to apologize when you've hurt someone, even if it's uncomfortable. It's about stepping outside of your own ego and acknowledging when you've made a mistake. And more than that, it's about learning from those mistakes so that you don't repeat them in the future. Someone who is emotionally mature doesn't brush things under the rug and pretend everything's fine when it's not. They have the courage to face the hard stuff and work through it. They understand that relationships require growth, and they're committed to evolving alongside you, not staying stuck in the same patterns. It's also about setting healthy boundaries. Emotional maturity isn't just about managing conflict, it's about knowing when to say no and when to protect your own emotional space. The right person understands that boundaries aren't walls, they're there to create safety and mutual respect. They're not trying to control you or manipulate you into doing things that aren't in line with your values. They understand that your emotional well-being matters just as much as theirs, and they respect that. At the same time, someone who's emotionally mature also knows how to support your growth. They want to see you thrive, not just in your relationship with them, but in your life as a whole. They'll encourage you to pursue your goals, chase your passions, and be the best version of yourself. And when you're struggling, they'll be there to lift you up, not to tell you what to do or judge you for your shortcomings, but to stand beside you as you figure things out. This kind of emotional maturity creates a foundation of trust, respect, and understanding in the relationship. It means that you don't just have someone who's emotionally available for you during the good times, but someone who will show up and be there for you when life gets hard. It's about knowing that no matter what happens, you can rely on each other to navigate the ups and downs of life together. That's what makes a relationship truly solid. So when you're looking for the right person, pay attention to how they handle their own emotions and how they handle yours. Because emotional maturity isn't just about being calm and collected, it's about being real, being vulnerable, being accountable, and being able to show up for each other in the toughest of times. That's when you know you've found someone who is truly ready to build something lasting. When you're looking for the right person for you, one of the most important things to keep in mind is your own self-awareness. It might sound simple, but it's often the thing that gets overlooked. Before you can even begin to evaluate whether someone else is right for you, you have to first know who you are. You have to understand what you truly want, what you need, and most importantly, what you're not willing to settle for. It's easy to get lost in the idea of finding someone who checks all the right boxes. We've all been there, going through a list of qualities and traits that we think we should want based on what we see in movies, on social media, or even from the expectations others put on us. But the truth is, until you get clear on what truly matters to you and who you are at your core, it's hard to recognize what's right for you. And sometimes, even if you do find someone who seems perfect on paper, if they don't align with who you really are, it's not going to work. That's why self-awareness is so critical. It's not just about knowing your likes and dislikes, it's about understanding your own values, your emotional needs, and your goals for the future. It's about recognizing what makes you tick, what triggers you, and what brings you peace. The more in tune you are with yourself, the easier it will be to spot someone who fits with your life, and, just as importantly, to avoid someone who doesn't. Being self-aware means knowing your own strengths and weaknesses, your own baggage and your own boundaries. It's about accepting the things you've been through, owning your history, and using that knowledge to guide you in your relationships. We all come with our own pasts, our own patterns, and our own ways of interacting with the world. When you understand these things, it gives you the power to navigate relationships in a healthier way. You'll be less likely to project your past hurts onto someone else, and more likely to choose someone who can truly meet you where you are, not where you wish you were. But it's not just about being self-aware in the context of your own emotional needs. It's also about knowing what you're willing to bring to the table. Relationships are a two-way street after all. When you understand who you are, you can better understand what you're capable of giving and how much effort you're willing to put into building something meaningful with someone else. Are you willing to invest time, energy, and emotion into the relationship? Are you ready to be vulnerable, to give of yourself in a way that allows for true connection? Once you've gotten clear on what you need and want, you also have to be honest with yourself about your own non-negotiables. We all have things we won't tolerate, whether it's dishonesty, lack of respect, or emotional unavailability. Knowing your non-negotiables means you won't settle for someone who doesn't meet those basic requirements. When you're self-aware, you know what those deal breakers are. and you don't let anyone convince you to ignore them. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of a new connection, but if someone doesn't respect your boundaries or align with your values, it's important to recognize that early and walk away. Self-awareness also means recognizing when you might be compromising too much, or when you might be holding on to something that's not healthy for you. Sometimes when we're in the middle of a relationship, we can lose sight of our own needs, especially if we're so focused on trying to make the other person happy. But when you're truly aware of yourself, you can check in and ask, am I staying in this for the right reasons? You can reflect on whether you're holding on to a relationship because of the potential you see in it, or if it's genuinely fulfilling your emotional needs and contributing to your growth. And let's not forget about your sense of self-worth. If you're not truly aware of your own value, it's easy to fall into patterns of seeking validation or trying to fit into someone else's version of who you should be. But the right person for you is someone who appreciates you for who you are, not someone you need to change in order to feel accepted or loved. Self-awareness allows you to recognize when a relationship is lifting you up and when it's diminishing you. It helps you set standards and expect the kind of respect and care that you deserve. The truth is, when you're clear about who you are and what you want, you stop chasing after people who don't align with your life. You stop settling for relationships that don't nurture your soul. You stop compromising your values or your self-respect just to keep someone around. Instead, you start attracting people who are aligned with your true self, people who are drawn to you for who you really are, not for some version of yourself you're trying to be. So what does all this mean when it comes to finding the right person? It means that you don't have to settle. You don't have to waste time trying to fit someone into your life who doesn't belong there. You don't have to change yourself or suppress your true needs in order to make a relationship work. When you're truly self-aware, you can recognize when someone is a good match for you, when there's real potential, and when it's time to walk away and find something better. And when you know your own worth and what you need, it gives you the courage to be patient. You don't feel pressured to rush into anything or to settle for less than what you deserve. In the end, the right person will come into your life when you're clear on who you are and what you need. You'll recognize them not because they fit some perfect mold, but because they align with your values, respect your boundaries, and bring out the best in you. That clarity and confidence will guide you through the process of finding someone who truly deserves a place in your life. And when that person arrives, you'll know they're the right one for you.